And I have a hard time with this, guys. Yep, it's a fail. Hi everyone, it's Cindy Quay with Cindy's Sacred Garden. I'm in my magical lab to finish up a video on Fresh Milky Oats. I did one yesterday that I posted, and that was more on harvesting and information on Fresh Milky Oats. And today I want to show you how to prepare it in a tincture, a glycerite, using the blender method, and then also if you don't have a blender, how to quickly do it if I have enough alcohol, because this is take 3. It's been hilarious down here. I had the top come off of the blender and spilling everywhere. The second time the bottom came off and everything shot everywhere. So I'm gonna retry this. 3rd time's a charm, right guys? All right. So in the video I had shown you the Fresh Milky Oats that are in hulls. Now these I actually put in the refrigerator last night so that I could prepare this, and it still has milk in it. And once you put it into the blender, it will open up these hulls and release the sweet cream so that it exposes itself and will macerate into your medium, which mine is, the first one we're going to do is Brandy, and then I'm going to show you how to do a glycerite, which is made with Kosher Glycerine, and that's a little more appropriate for animals, not too much because of the sweetness, but it's okay in dosage, and you can always inbox me about that. Also for kids. So a lot of times with children and tinctures that are done in any type of alcohol, the best way to dose a child is 1 drop per 10 pounds. And depending on whether you're doing it once or twice or 3 times a day, you would want to put that into a little warm water to dissipate the alcohol. So that's the easiest way to do it. All right, here's our Fresh Milky Oats, and I am gonna, this is where it goes funny on me when I do these videos, when I start turning the camera or I use the blender. So we're gonna try this again. Hang on. All right, here we go. So we have a blender. We have our Fresh Milky Oats. I'm going to show you the technique real quick with a half-gallon jar, because if you're growing them, you're going to have a lot to work with. So I suggest working with a half-gallon jar. But if a friend just gives you a small bag, or you pick up some, you can also do it in a quart jar. So it's just pretty simple on that aspect. We'll do the glycerite in this jar. So the first thing you're going to do is, it's about a cup. And that's 1 hand and 2 hands for me, into your blender. And then we're going to do a 60-40 ratio of the tincture to water. So 60% brandy and 40% of distilled water. You want to only use distilled water or reverse osmosis water. Never use it from the tap. It will mess up your tinctures. Trust me on that one. So I'm going to mix, I have a 4-cup Pyrex. I'm going to put in here 2 cups of brandy. And 1 cup of water. Now, mind you, if you're doing several jars, so I'm going to go up to 3 cups. You're going to want to buy at least 2 bottles of 1.75 liters of brandy. And for me, I'm just going to have to get back to the ABC store in the morning to buy more, because I'm not going to have enough to tincture up all these Fresh Milky Oats. If you don't have enough, go ahead and put your Fresh Milky Oats in the freezer in a Ziploc baggie. Mark the date and use it within 6 months tops. I like 3 months as the real crucial time to really be getting out. And so then you take your, now you've got, let's see what I did, 2 cups, 1 cup. So you will be pouring all of your 3 cups. Oops, there I go spilling, guys. Take your time. I'm going to smell like brandy for the rest of the day. And make sure your cover is completely on. And what I like to do is pulse. So I pulse until it's all broken up really fine. And it should look a little more creamy and everything in here. This is where I had a problem, guys. Ugh. All right. Found an easier way. Should be pretty shredded. You see that? So it pretty much soaked up all that liquid. And then I have, for canning, which makes it easier to pour it in to your jar. Just like that. And then I'm going to start over again. And I'm going to do 2 handfuls of Fresh Milky Oats. I'm actually going to grab a little bit more because that last handful. And I'm going to do 2 cups Brandy. 1 cup water. Take it to 3. So I like to do small batches. I don't make big ones because I want to make sure that I'm breaking up the Fresh Milky Oats. In the blender. Oh, see? Almost. I got it. And you're going to do the same thing into that jar. And that will take you right to the top. So this is 1 filled jar. Now here's something that you should know that I think is really important. So if you're going to let this sit for 4 to 6 weeks, it's really, really important that when you have canning jars, the lid is metal. And I like to fill this up just a little bit more, so I'm going to bring the brandy, put just a little more brandy in there. Top it off. I use unwaxed, unbleached waxed paper. And I cut a square, which everybody has a square cut. And you cover it before you put the actual lid on. So I always buy new lids. And put that on there. And the other thing that you want to do, let me grab it. I moved everything because everything was soaking wet when I did the last video. Is you're going to write, I do FMO, which means Fresh Milky Oats. 60-40, so then I know it's already at the amount that I want it to be in a tincture blend, and then today's date. So then that way I can go on my calendar and mark out 4 or 6 weeks. And then I know when to strain it. And that's why I mentioned in my video about having a lot of cheesecloth. This is so ground up that you're really going to need some cheesecloth. Now I use unbleached. Mine's, I think, 90 weight. If you cannot find it, please let me know. I think it's a 60 weight here that I don't use. And I'd be willing to part with some. Alright, so now Glycerite. So that's our Brandy. A Glycerite's really simple, and this is going to be in a quart jar. We're still going to need this blender, so I'm going to quick go rinse out my jar. For a Glycerite Fresh Milky Oats, if you've made Brandy, then you have to go wash out your blender and dry it really well, as long with all the other equipment you're going to use. And this is a little different, guys. This one I'm actually gonna kind of prepare it already in the jar and then add glycerin so that I know how much. I'm gonna start over. Those got a little wet. So you know how much Brandy. So I start with 1, 2. Now remember, you're chopping this up, so it's going to be smaller volume. 3. So I've got a little less than half in my jar. Right here, I've got 1 cup. Yeah, 1.5. 1.5 cups in the quart jar. And then I'm going to take my vegetable glycerin. You guys see this. And I'm just going to fill it all the way to the top. And then I'm going to put it into my blender. And like I said, if you have to add a little more glycerin on the top, after you blend this is when you do it. After you go ahead and get this chopped up, I make sure the glycerin is well distributed, because it's a little thicker when you put it into a blender. And let's do this. And as I mentioned yesterday, a Glycerite shelf life is only 1 year. So this amount would be a lot. But you could share with your friends and other people who have pets, dogs, cats, or children, or even adults who need to work with more glycerite over a tincture base. And so you're going to do the same thing as you did with the tincture with the brandy in it. You're going to pulse it. There's going to be a trick, guys. When your tincture, your glycerite is ready to be strained, what you're going to need to do is heat it up in warm water, like put water on the stove in a pan to thin it out. So it's kind of like when you have honey in a jar and it's crystallized and you want to use it, you would melt that honey. So keep it in the jar, put the jar in hot water that's in a pan until it becomes more liquid, and then strain it through your cheesecloth. If you don't do that, you're not going to get this through cheesecloth. So there is another option, and I'm going to show you the last option. If you don't have a blender, you choose not to use a blender method, and I'm going to say this is the best way to extract everything, is with a blender versus not blending. But I have done it without a blender, and I'm gonna say that I didn't notice a big difference in the potency or the flavor. So this also will be done in 4 to 6 weeks. So it's the same time as a tincture. And you see I still have a little in the jar to be filled. So I'm going to go ahead and fill it to the bottom ring. And the same concept is that metal in that lid will react with your herbs. So it is always best to put the unbleached wax paper. And there you have it. Here's our finished product. We have the Fresh Milky Oats in the Brandy at 60/40. My date is on there. And I'll go mark my calendar. And I'll go 6 weeks for mine. And this is the Glycerite, which is 100% in glycerin. Along with, I'll mark that on my calendar as the day that I'll warm it up in the pan, in the jar, and put it through the cheesecloth so that I can have this fresh glycerite for those in need. I thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you've learned what you needed to, and if you have any questions, please feel free to inbox me. I hope everyone has a great day, and stay tuned.